A couple of weeks ago, I announced that I wanted to make a Metroidvania game. At that point, I was basically just starting with having a really rough idea in mind, and as I did not yet have anything to showcase, I only talked about other games that I took inspiration from. However, since then I spent some time creating a basic project, and today I want to present you the first official devlog episode showcasing the very first steps that I've made so far. But before we jump right into the game, I first want to take a quick look at the tools that I chose in order to make this game. This list may not be final and other software might be added to it as time goes on, but for now these are the programs I'll definitely use. If you're interested in checking out some of these tools, I'll put a link to all the different programs in the description. But just to get that out of the way, I'm not trying to advertise any of the mentioned software in any way, as it generally depends on you as the individual person and also the type of game you want to make, your budget and many other factors, what software fits best for you. So I'm not trying to say that the tools that I use are better or worse than any other tool out there. I'm only mentioning why I choose the software I chose and why I think it works best for me. So let's get started with the first tool, the game engine. A game engine is probably one of the most essential tools that you need if you want to make any sort of bigger game. As I mentioned in the last video, I want to try and keep the budget for this game low, so looking for a low price game engine, the most popular one I came across is the Godot engine. The Godot engine is actually a free game engine, and I think it was a good choice for me as it is quite good for creating 2D games especially. It features its own programming language, GDScript, which is in my opinion very well documented, and also just the general way the engine works made a lot of sense to me right from the beginning, and so I could start working with it pretty fast. The next big block of the game is the art. For my game I chose to do pixel art, as it is currently the only art style that I really feel comfortable with. And watching tons of different tutorials on pixel art, one program that came up in almost every video I saw was Sprite. And even though it is not completely free, it only costs a few dollars, so I would not call it expensive. And compared to most other art programs, it has the advantage that it was specifically designed for making pixel art, and that means that it does not confuse you with tons of options, menus and other features that you don't even need for pixel art at all. And at least as I'm a beginner when it comes to creating art in general, I think this is pretty helpful for me. Now I haven't actually created any music for my game yet, but a program that I've had the best experiences with in the past is called MuseScore, which is a free music notation and composition software and might actually be a rather unconventional choice when it comes to creating soundtracks, as in most tutorials that you find on the internet, what people actually use are so-called DAWs, or digital audio workstations. I would say the most fundamental difference between MuseScore and DAWs is that MuseScore has the classical approach of presenting you with a note sheet instead of representing the notes as bars, which is what most other music creation software does. In the example in the background, you can see one of the DAWs, which is called Bosca Seoil. I hope I pronounced that right. And even though I probably not use it to create soundtracks for my game, I still want to link it in the description, just in case you're also interested in checking out one of these DAWs. But for me, the reason why I stick to MuseScore is that I just never really got used to this representation of notes with bars. MuseScore for me represents the notes the same way that I learned to read and write notes in school, and it just makes it easier for me to work with. And again, that's just my personal choice. I don't want to say that DAWs are in any way better or worse than MuseScore. However, they're just something that I would first have to get used to, and for me it's easier to work with MuseScore. So after all that said, let's finally take a look at what I have created so far. What you can see here is the very basic Godot project that I have started to work on. Currently I have one tileset for some sort of laboratory-like area, which I'm not even sure I'll use in the end. However, for now it's a good starting point to go with. The character design, on the other hand, is already more like I also imagine it to be in the final game. So far, the character has some basic moves like walking around, running, jumping, shooting, as well as some advanced moves like double jumping and wall jumping. As I already mentioned, a wide variety of weapons to collect will be one part of the final game, and so I've already included 3 different weapon sprites. However, so far these just change the appearance of the weapon without having any different behavior. However, of course, in the final game, each weapon will have their unique strengths and weaknesses. 2 less noticeable details that I've already implemented that I also want to mention are coyote time and buffer jumps. Basically, these are small, more or less cheats that will help to make the movement feel better. If you've already worked on platformers or watched some tutorials on implementing platformer controls, you might have come across these techniques already. However, if they sound new to you, I'll quickly explain them. As I said, both of them are kind of cheating the system, as they allow you to do things that you actually shouldn't be able to do from a logical point of view. Coyote jumping, for example, means giving the player a small window where they can still jump after they run or fall off the edge of a platform, even if they are technically already in the air, which means they shouldn't be able to jump anymore. The name of this trick goes back to the old Coyote and Roadrunner cartoons and refers to exactly these situations that sometimes happened in the cartoon, when, for example, suddenly the floor underneath the coyote would disappear and he would still be able to jump back to a safe ledge, even though he was technically already in the air. And the reason this makes the platforming feel better is that, for example, when players attempt to do a big jump from one platform to another, they would naturally try to jump off the platform as late as possible, and this means that in some cases they might miss the input by a few frames, so they might press the jump button a little bit too late. And I mean, on the screen that doesn't really make a big difference, it just still looks to them like they are at the edge of the platform. And so it would feel unfair or unnecessarily precise if the game would not let you jump in this situation. Jump buffering solves kind of a similar problem. Imagine you are about to jump on a platform and you know that this platform will start falling down as soon as you touch it. So in order to maintain your height, you will probably try to jump as soon as possible after you hit the platform. And same like with running off the edge, it's likely to happen that you actually press the jump button a few frames before you actually land on the platform, even though to you it looks like you're already on the platform. Because, I mean, usually you fall pretty fast in games, so a few frames, there's not really much of a noticeable difference. So here we have the same problem. If the game would not allow you to jump in this situation, it will feel unfair to most players, because on the screen it looks like they are doing the right thing, but it just feels like the inputs are not handled correctly or something like that. And therefore, these little cheating systems that actually allow the player to do things they shouldn't be able to do make it feel like it's just right. So that's everything I've implemented so far. Let me know in the comments what you think. Finally, I want to give a small outlook on what parts I want to work on next. Basically, my next 3 goals are, first of all, creating multiple rooms and being able to switch between them. because of course the game will have large areas consisting of multiple rooms in the end. And what kind of naturally comes with that is to implement a camera system, because of course there will also be single rooms that are bigger than one screen, and of course for these rooms you need a camera that follows the player around. And last but not least, I want to work on some more abilities of the player. While I have the basic stuff like jumping, double jumping and wall jumping down, these are of course not very unique abilities, as most platformers and Metroidvanias have similar abilities. So one of my next goals is also to create some more unique abilities, or at least spice up common abilities like double jumping and wall jumping with some interesting twists. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this first official devlog, and I hope to see you in the next episode.